going to be showing you how to make a hanging lily of the valley. You can make these hang as long as you want or as short as you want. You could use them for so many different projects. You could do wall hangings. You could do door or window curtains with a bunch of them hanging. You can do little keychains, and I will kind of explain to you towards the end of the video some different ways that I think that they could be used and how I would do that. But I will show you how to make the flower and how to hang them off of the chain like this. The first thing that you're going to want to grab is a green yarn and a white yarn, or whatever colors you would like to use for the like stem effect and the flower effect. You could do any colors you want to, but I'm using a green and a white. You're going to need a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook or whatever you prefer. I'm using a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook and a worsted weight yarn, which is a size 4 yarn if you go by that, or an Aran weight yarn if you go by that. But it shows it on the ball band. Let me show you real quick. If you are looking at your yarn, here you go. It says a 4 medium. So this is the yarn I'm using. Normally it would recommend a 5 millimeter hook, but for this particular project, we want our stitches to be nice and tight so that it'll hold its shape and create this effect where like you don't see through your stitches at all. So I use a 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. You are also going to want a darning needle or whatever kind of yarn needle that you would like, and a stitch marker and some scissors. So to begin with, we're going to go ahead and grab our yarn, whatever color that you're using, whatever sparkly or non-sparkly, whatever you've chosen. And you're going to go ahead and grab your 3.5 millimeter hook for a worsted weight yarn and your stitch marker. All right, so the first thing that we are going to do is make a magic circle. If you need a little bit of a slowed down tutorial on how to make a magic circle, I do have a tutorial to walk you through that, and I will link it down in the description box below this video. But otherwise, I'm going to assume that you know how to make a magic circle. Like I said, if you don't, go watch that tutorial and I will walk you through it step by step. Once you've got that magic circle, or your preferred method of starting out, you can also do the chain method for starting out instead of a magic circle if that's what you prefer. We are going to go ahead and place 6 single crochets into the magic circle. So make sure when you are working into a magic circle that you work over both the side of your circle and that tail. Don't forget to hold those together. So you've got your little tail here from starting and the side of your circle. You're just going to hold those together and just work your 6 single crochets over both of them. So there's 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next step is to close our magic circle. Normally you close it decently tight, but for this particular project, I'm actually going to leave myself a little bit of slack because we are going to be using the center of this later. So I'm going to close it so that there's just a little bit of a hole there, and then I'm going to go work into that first single crochet that we made. And into this first single crochet that we made, we are going to be working 2 single crochets because we are doing an increase. So go ahead and put your first single crochet in, and then in that same stitch, work your second single crochet. And then you can go ahead and place your stitch marker into that first stitch so that you know when you get back to it that you are at the beginning of your round. Now we're just going to work 2 single crochets into every stitch around because we are doing increases in every stitch around. So go ahead and go into that next stitch and do a single crochet, into that same stitch and do a single crochet, and then repeat all the way around. So currently you have 6 single crochets that you're working into, so you're going to be doing 6 increase stitches, which just means into every single crochet you're going to place 2 single crochets. And when you get back to your stitch marker, you will have a total of 12 stitches for round 2. So we're back at our stitch marker, and we will have, if you were to count all of these, you will have 12 stitches. At this point, if you would like to tighten up your magic circle more, you can. I'm going to leave, like I said, a little bit of a hole in it. It doesn't need to be huge, but it just needs to be, you know, like a little bit, because later we're going to be going through that with our green, and we're going to work our needle through it. So it doesn't need to be pulled super tightly. All right, now that we've made our way back to our stitch marker, we can go ahead and pop that out. Place a single crochet into that first stitch and replace our stitch marker. This is going to be the beginning of the round, so when we get back to the stitch marker, we know that we have made it all the way around. So for this round, we are going to do a single crochet and then we're going to do an increase. So 1 single crochet into that first stitch and then 2 single crochets into the second stitch. That's going to be your repeat for the round, so you're just going to continue to do that repetition of single crochet in 1 stitch and 2 single crochets in 1 stitch. And you're going to repeat that repeat 6 times. So a single crochet and an increase. And that is the repeat for the round. You repeat that 6 times, and then that is going to get you back to your stitch marker, and you will have 18 stitches for round 3. So if you would like to double count your work when you get to that stitch marker, make sure that your numbers are lining up right. You will have 18 stitches if you were to count them. You'll also know that you're on the right track if you are ending in the stitch right before your stitch marker and you're doing an increase. The stitch right before your stitch marker should be an increase. So if you have an increase here, chances are you have got your count right and you are on the right path. Now we're just going to be really simple. We're going to pop out our stitch marker. We are just going to be doing some single crochet only rounds. So what we are going to do is we are just going to single crochet into every stitch. I'm going to go ahead and throw my second single crochet in and then go back and put that stitch marker in my first stitch. We're going to single crochet in every single stitch all the way around. And we are going to do this for 4 rounds. This is going to make our work start to cup up and give us that nice little bell shape that the lily of the valley has. So go ahead and single crochet all the way around back to your stitch marker, which is 18 stitches. And you just want to repeat that so that you've done it 4 times. You're going to be doing rounds 4, which is what we're on right now, 5, 6, and 7. And then meet me back and I'll show you what to do for round 8. And once you've finished working your 4 rounds, you should be looking a little something like this. It should be nice and cupped up for you. Go ahead and pop that stitch marker out and we are going to do the last round of your first flower. So the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to work 3 stitches all into 1 stitch. So we are going to be working into this first stitch right here. We're going to place a single crochet, and you can place your stitch marker into that first single crochet, or you can wait a minute till you finished in the stitch and then place it. Either way, whatever your preference is. In the same stitch, we're going to do a half double crochet. So for a half double crochet, you're just going to take your yarn over your hook, go through that stitch that we're working in, and then pull up a loop. You're going to have 3 loops on your hook, and then you'll yarn over and pull through all 3 at one time. This can be a little bit difficult, especially if you're using a sparkly yarn like I am that wants to catch the strands from the other pieces, the metallic strands, but it's not difficult. It's just, you might have to go a little slow. In this same stitch, we are also going to work a double crochet. So to do a double crochet, you're going to yarn over your hook, go through that stitch, that same stitch. We're grabbing our yarn here and pulling it up through the loop. We've got 3 loops on our hook here, but instead of pulling through all 3, we're going to yarn over and we're going to pull through the first 2. That's going to give us 2 loops, and then we will yarn over and we will pull through the second 2. And that is how you do a double crochet. Now you have worked a single, a half double, and a double all into that same stitch. And now you can go ahead and place your stitch marker if you have not already. So look at the top so you can see the top of your stitches, and go and place it into that first one that we did. It'll be, if you want to count back, 1, 2, and 3, because we placed 3 stitches into that same stitch. Now we're going to move to the next stitch, and we're just going to do the reverse of what we just did. So in this next stitch, we're going to do a double crochet, then we're going to do a half double crochet, in the same stitch, and then we are going to do a single crochet in the same stitch, and that is going to give you your first petal. It's going to look like that. And then in the next stitch we're just going to slip stitch, which is where you just take your hook, go through like you're going to do a single crochet, grab your yarn and pull it through, but then just pull it straight through the yarn that's already on your hook as well. And that's going to be the repeat for the round. We are going to do this little repeat that we just did 6 times. Don't worry, I'm not going to leave you and have you try to remember how to do that. I will continue to go around with you, but this is the little repeat that we're going to be doing because the Lily of the Valley has 6 petals. So to start our little repeat over, we're going to do in the same stitch a single crochet, a half double crochet, and a double crochet. Into that next stitch, we are going to do a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. Then we're going to do a slip stitch into the next stitch. And you are going to be looking like this. So we had 18 stitches when we started this round. And so we're doing a repeat that is going to take 3 stitches and turn them into a petal. So for each 3 stitches you have, they turn into a petal, if that helps you kind of visualize what you're doing. All right, so now we're going to work into the next stitch. We're going to do a single crochet. Then we're going to do a half double crochet and a double crochet. And in that next stitch, we're going to do a double crochet, a half double crochet. Get a little fuzzy off of my white yarn. There we go. Do that half double crochet and then do a single crochet. And then we're going to slip stitch into that next stitch. All right, and starting out another petal, we're going to do a single crochet, a half double crochet, a double crochet, and then we're going to move on to the next stitch. We're going to do a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. And then we'll end our little sequence there by doing a slip stitch. So at this point, you should have 4 petals. So we have 2 more petals to make. Into the next stitch, we are going to place a single crochet and then a half double crochet, and finally a double crochet. And then in the next one, we're going to go with a double crochet and then a half double crochet and a single crochet. Then we're just going to move on to that next stitch and put our slip stitch. All right, and now we just have 1 more sequence left to do, and that'll put us back at our stitch marker. So go ahead and put your single crochet into that next stitch, and then a half double, and then your double crochet. Then in the next stitch, you're going to do a double crochet, a half double crochet, and a single crochet. That's going to leave you with 1 stitch remaining right there, and you're just going to place that slip stitch into there And we have finished our flower. So go ahead and remove your stitch marker and grab your scissors. You can cut this and leave yourself just a little bit of a tail. That way you can sew it in. And then pull up on your hook to pull your yarn out. It'll be looking like this. You could go ahead and just give that a little tug. And then thread your yarn onto the needle. To weave in the tail, you're just going to go to that first stitch that you just removed your stitch marker out of and work your needle through that whole stitch just to pull your yarn to the other side and kind of make it, you know, have like a more finished look. And then what I did to weave in my tail was I actually just wove it into the petal. Since there are all these stitches in the petal, it's really easy to just slide your needle in between the stitches. And you can hide your yarn that way. And then just pull your needle through. You can weave this in more if you would like to, or you can be all set with that. I'm not planning on doing anything like crazy to this, like washing it repeatedly or anything. So I'm just gonna weave it in twice. All you want to make sure you do when you weave it back through again is don't go into the exact same spot you just popped out of. Go over just a tiny bit so that you know you don't just undo your stitch. And then you can cut your yarn right up to your project. And that will hide your tail. Just like that. And you can do the same thing for this other tail that we have on the inside. Just weave it in. If you would like to, you can even weave it, pull it up to the front and weave it in out here, or you can turn it inside out and weave it in. But you're just going to weave it in the same way that I just showed you. And I'll do that real quick. I pulled mine inside out. But basically you're just hiding your tail. That way you can cut it, because you don't want to cut it right up to your work or it could unravel. But you don't really need to weave it in crazy for this project. Like I said, it's not, you know, a wearable or something that's going to get washed a lot. Probably won't get washed at all, so I'm not really going to worry about weaving that in a lot. All right, and there is our first lily of the valley. Okay, so it should look a little something like this. Basically a little bell, like this. You're going to want to go ahead and make a second one now, because for each little chain that I'm going to show you how to make, we are going to put one flower on either end. Of course, I worked a hair into there because, you know, you got to add extra fiber. So go ahead and work your second flower. If you need to, you can rewind and follow along with me for the second flower. But after you have that second flower, meet me back and I will show you how to do our green chain that you will be hanging it from. And really quick before we move on, I just wanted to show you a slight modification option that you can do. So this is the one that I just showed you how to do, where we worked through the entire stitch. This is one that I made where I did the front loop only for the last round, except for the slip stitches where I worked through the whole stitch. So when you're crocheting, you can work, you know how there's 2 loops to a stitch? You can work through just one loop if you want to, and that loop that's closest to you when you're crocheting is the front loop. So if you want to work this exactly the same way, but work through the front loop only, and you know everything else about it the same except for you can work your slip stitches through the whole stitch, it creates a very slightly different effect. If you're wanting just a little bit of variety, you know, make your flowers look a little bit different from each other, then that could be an option for you. Like I said, it doesn't make a huge difference, but basically just one little alteration to it and it gives a slightly different appearance. So that is an option that you have also. Okay, so now that you've got 2 of those, we are going to work a little chain that we're going to hang our flowers on. So you're going to want to go ahead and grab your green yarn and you're going to want to grab your hook. You're also going to need your needle, and then we will need our 2 flowers to attach them on. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to want to leave yourself a little bit of a tail because we're going to use this later to sew with a little bit. So leave yourself a little bit of a tail. I think I'm probably leaving like 7 inches right now, which might be a little more than I need, but I would rather always err on the side of caution. And then you're going to make your slip stitch. Once you've got that slip stitch, you're going to go ahead and put that onto your hook. I'm sorry, slip knot, not slip stitch. And we are just going to chain. Now the amount you're going to chain is going to depend on how long you want this to be. So first, let me show you how to chain. You're just going to yarn over your hook and pull through the loop that's on your hook currently. This is the same thing as slip stitching, except for that you're not slip stitching through a stitch, you're just chaining. So the length that you're going to go for this really just depends on how far down you want it to hang. Keep in mind, we are going to be doubling it over. So you're going to want to go twice as long as you want your chain to hang down. So go as long as you want to, or as short as you want to. Say if you're making this for a keychain, you may not want it very long, you know, you may want it like this long. If you're making this to make like a little door hanging, you may want it super long. Like it's going to completely depend on your personal project. So make this as long as you want. You're literally just repeating the same step over and over, just chaining. And even if you're making a door hanging, you can make them all different lengths too. You could have some be short and some be long, completely up to you. So for example, if I was doing a keychain, I might want it to be this long. So for the sake of this tutorial, I'll go ahead and stop here and show you how to make how to continue to make it. But the directions are going to be the same even if this cord was 20 million feet long. You're just going to keep going until you have the length that you want. So what you're going to do is grab your scissors. We're going to sew at this end a little bit too, so you're going to want to leave yourself a little bit of slack. And then you're just going to pull on your hook to pull that stitch out, and then pull on the yarn to tighten it, and it's going to create a little knot for you. Okay, so what do we do next? Well, we're going to go ahead and grab our flower, first flower, doesn't matter which one. We're going to put our yarn on our needle. And then we are going to go into that little hole at the beginning. No matter if it's tight or loose, you should be able to get your hook or your needle through it just fine. Don't worry. Even if you pulled it tight, you should be able to get through it just fine. Then you're going to pull your yarn until you get to your first chain. So you've got all of that excess yarn there, and you've got to your first chain. You're going to continue to pull, and you should be able to pull your chain right through. Now what we're going to do so that it locks this into place when it's hanging is, now that we've got our chain pulled through, we are going to create just kind of a little knot, a little knob even. So just go back a few stitches, say we've got like 1, 2, 3, and then just kind of sew it to itself like this. And it's just going to create a little knot. You don't need to pull super tight. And we're just going to go back and forth a few times, just going in and out of that and creating ourselves a nice little knot that's not going to come out because we've done it like a million times here. So however many times you feel comfy with, I think I've probably done it like 6 or 7. There's really no like right or wrong. And then to kind of finish off, I'm going to go through my little knot and come out the end here of my little knob that I made, making up all these really technical terms. And then I will go ahead and trim that yarn. And what that does is when you pull your Lily of the Valley back up onto your chain, there's a little knot in here, keeping it from sliding up any further, and then this can dangle from it. And you're just going to do the same thing on the other end, because this is going to make this double-ended. So go ahead and grab your hook, or your needle, sorry, pull it through your yarn, come to the top of your flower. I made this circle a little bit tighter, but just find the middle of your circle and pull it through, and then pull through some of your chain. And then we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to go back a few stitches and weave this in. Now what you do from here really depends on what project you're making. If you're making a door hanging or a window hanging or some kind of a banner type of situation, you will want to either tie this to what you're hanging it from. So if you're hanging it from a curtain rod and you're just hanging it right off the curtain rod, you could actually tie this greenery to the curtain rod. If you're hanging it off of a piece of driftwood to make like a little wall hanging decor, or hanging that piece of driftwood on the wall above your door or window, then you can tie it directly on to the piece of driftwood. It's really just going to depend what you're making. So there is the end of that one. Go ahead and pull it up, and like I said, that little knot stops it. And then you've got your little hanging lily of the valley. And like I said, you can do this however long you would like to for whatever project you're doing. So like I said, if you're doing something where you're just going to knot it directly on, you can literally just tie these, especially if they're long. You just literally tie them like you would tie anything, and then put whatever it is you're hanging it off of in here. So let me give you just a little example. Let's say I was hanging it off of this crochet hook, kind of working on a miniature scale. Then I would do that, and then it can hang off of the crochet hook. So like, let's say that was a piece of driftwood or whatever you wanted to hang it from. Another option that you can do is if you want to make a door hanging or a window hanging or something, you can do a really long chain with your green, and then you can actually put these onto that really long chain. And you'll do them kind of in the same way that I just showed you, where you put your yarn on your needle like this, and say that I had like a really long chain here. Then I would just go find the middle, or wherever I want. It doesn't have to be the middle. If you want them to be varying lengths, you could do it off center too. But find wherever you want to do it, go through your chain, and then just pull that chain. Like I said, pretend that I've got a big chain here, and then you could string them onto here like this, and you could just string a whole bunch of them on. Make a bunch of them and then hang them across on the string, and then hang the string on the wall above your window or above your door, and you'll have a whole bunch dangling down. Make like a little curtain. So there's a lot of things you could do with it. The other option is you could add a keychain to it if you wanted to. You could add a keychain directly onto here and hang it from that. Or you could even just tie this to make that little, knot section right here. And you can tie this directly around the strap of your purse or something and make a keychain without even having any hardware. Just tie it and then it'll hang from your purse. So I hope that this has been helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed making some little hanging lilies of the valley. Super, super simple and pretty quick to make too. So these would be great to make as little gifts for people, or to make a whole bunch of and decorate your room with them. I would love to see what you guys make with these if you feel like sharing pictures, but I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down below if you did, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I will see you guys on the next video. Bye!